Hello, 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 everyone. I am super excited. I don't know about you, but we have some amazing stuff going on here today. So, first, I want to welcome you to our webinar. We're going to be talking about some amazing things, but let me tell you a little bit about Sister Second Chance first. So, Sister Second Chance, which is my baby, we started it in 2014. You guys, it's been a long time. And we started it only because we wanted to help people. We started first like, hey, we want to help all women. And then now we've kind of gradually worked on just helping the family as a whole. So what we're doing now is just trying to bring more awareness to the community to certain topics such as suicide prevention, self-sabotage, mental health challenges. We want to help the homeless. We want to just help the whole unit as a whole, of course, because it's needed, right? But today I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to stop talking so much for Sister Second Chance and I'm going to bring some amazing and powerful women in to talk about some of the things that they can add to those particular topics. So our topics today will be self-sabotage and suicide prevention. So the first young lady we have, because listen, I got to pull up my little notes because listen, we got to make sure I give y'all her rundown. It's Miss Via Fraley. She's a licensed independent social worker. Y'all heard that. Now she a social worker, so she know all about helping people. Okay, all right, and she's the co-founder of I Am Legacy Counseling and Consultation Services. And then she loves working with all people, especially women that are having challenges with visible disabilities and that are struggling with emotional trauma, depression, just mental health overall. So, you guys, without that being said, I don't have to say anything else because listen, she's so beautiful. I can see in the background. Y'all can't wait. I just wait till I bring this beauty on here. But I'm just gonna go ahead, bring her on with me. And then I'm gonna let her just introduce herself a little bit more, and then she's gonna get into her presentation. So, Miss Via Fraley. Hello.
Hello. Okay.
We're
And
excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Um, I'm grateful to be talking about self-sabotage. So,
Okay. Are you ready to get started?
I am.
All right. So, you guys, I'm gonna slide off. I'm gonna be the audience too, and I'm looking forward to hearing about self-sabotage. So let me pull myself off the screen.
Okay. Have you ever heard the expression, it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop? Well, this was it. I had to be about 10 years old with a new pink jean outfit on and a half a tub of Vaseline on my lips and face. The camp counselor handed me the cold microphone. My palms were wet with sweat. I could barely hold on to it. Lights, camera, action. I heard my loud voice singing my heart out to one of Brandy's greatest hits, but I stopped. What was I doing? I couldn't sing. I hated my voice, the sound. And this was the beginning of self-sabotage for me. So, hello, my name is Avaya Fraley, and Sasha was able to introduce me earlier. I am a dually licensed independent social worker and co founder of I Am Legacy Counseling and Consultation Services. I specialize in helping African American women with visible disabilities or women who struggle with emotional trauma, depression, and anxiety. And I'm so happy to be here with you today, talking about some of self-sabotage, some of what we all struggle with from the story, and something we all have done at one point in our life or another. So today's goal for the webinar is to learn about self-sabotage and things you can do to start to live a self-supporting lifestyle and heal from self-sabotage. So after this webinar, you'll be able to define self-sabotage, identify self-sabotaging behaviors, and what healing looks like for you from self-sabotage. So what is it, right? What is self-sabotage? Well, it is actions that a person engages in that disconnects them from their goals and living their best life. These actions can be intentional or unintentional. And self-sabotage is also known as behavioral dysregulation. So intentional self-sabotage looks like eating that piece of cake after you said you were going to eat healthy the day before. And unintentional self-sabotage looks like personal goals or values being compromised. So to speak, if you were knowing you had a pain, a physical pain or emotional pain, and you continue not to go to the doctor or not to go and seek some type of mental health help, that can be considered unintentional self-sabotage. When we self-sabotage, when do we self-sabotage is when we are maybe stressed out, we're worried, we're experiencing sadness, and it can show up in our relationships, our work, or in our schooling, or if we have other interests. So now we are going to recognize self-sabotage. And these are not, I think I need to go back one. Okay, thank you. And so why do we self-sabotage? So this is not an exhaustive list, but this is several big things that cause us to self-sabotage. So one of those things is fear. And fear is defined as an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous or likely to cause pain or a threat. So when we're in fear, of course, our action is to avoid or put off something because we are afraid, hence self-sabotage. So what this may look like is the fear of failure, to avoid or put something off that has the potential to cause a sense of failure. And what this may look like is not trying something new. So dating someone new after a painful breakup. Or it could look like taking a risk. So taking a test after you didn't pass the first time would be a fear of failure. And the second reason why we could self-sabotage is because of self-esteem. So self-esteem is a sense of value, and particularly self-sabotage could happen with low self-esteem, which is a negative value towards yourself that can be related to trauma. So that could be a neglect of a parent, that could be domestic violence situation, or that could be the loss of a loved one. And the concepts related to self-esteem are identity, so a sense of oneself, self-acceptance, so welcoming your whole entire self, your flaws, the good, the bad, the ugly, and self-confidence, belief in your abilities, and humility, your willingness to learn. So this is all compromised if you are in this state of self-sabotaging. So that could look like staying in an unhealthy relationship, and that could look like not taking care of yourself. And the last reason why someone may self-sabotage is because fear of judgment. And this may look like the fear, we talked about the fear of failure, which is the sense that you will fail. But with the fear of judgment, it may be a fear that you will succeed. So being afraid of your accomplishments, your in the pros and cons that may come with those accomplishments, and also the reaction of others. So that could look like, we've all heard of imposter syndrome. So feeling uneasy, being the only one in the room, or feeling like you're undeserving because you're the only one in the room or the only one that has a seat at the table. And it can also look like dropping out of school because the fear of being the first one to graduate in your family. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in there of why people would self-sabotage. So we are next going to recognize our self-sabotaging behaviors, some of what I've already spoke about, but putting them a little bit more in context. So the first one is self-defeating thoughts. So these are negative thoughts about oneself or situation that impact the way they feel about themselves and their behavior. So this could look like thoughts of nothing is going to change. This is the way I am. I don't deserve good things to happen to me, or I am weak. Those are all self-defeating thoughts and self-sabotaging thoughts. The next action could be comparison. So comparison is, of course, when we're comparing the likeness or the difference of two things. And what this does is it tends to amplify our flaws and weaknesses, and it discounts your strengths. So this could look like, I'm only a mother, I'm not successful like my sister. And the last one, which is probably the most infamous one that gets people, is procrastination. And we know this is putting something off. It is a form of self-sabotage. And this could look like putting off to go and renew your license. This could look like putting off to go and apply for school. Procrastination could look like so much. But these are the three main ways that you could self-sabotage. And so, yep. All right, thank you. So knowing that it is possible to overcome self-sabotage, knowing that you can live a life of abundance, and how could you start to do that, right? We all want to be there. Okay. So one of the things you can start on your own today is to start self-reflection. This exercise is in the terms of a journal exercise. So in writing, you'll be able to self-reflect, you'll be able to look at your feelings and your behaviors. So you can start today by identifying 2 goals you want to accomplish by January. One of those goals could be learning how to manage your emotions. And so then writing down 3 things you believe that can help you accomplish this task. So you can look at it in the form of people, places, or things. If there's people such as like your sister or your best friend that you know that makes you feel good, then hang around that person more. Build that community. If you know that you enjoy going to the park or doing yoga, then start to have a pattern of doing that. Get on a schedule of doing that. And if you know that you enjoy to go visit your dad, then go and visit your dad more. Be in that childhood home. And if you know those are things that keep you on task, then you want to track your actions. Are you doing this on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and making sure that those things are staying in alignment with your goals. The second thing you can do is you can actually go to therapy to kind of hold up that mirror and get support. So some really good websites to check out are Therapy for Black Girls, Clinicians of Color, and Psychology Today. So some things you want to look for, of course, are what is the cost? So are you going to use your health insurance? Are you going to pay cash? Do these clinicians or therapists, do they address the problem or issue that I have? If it is self-sabotage, do they address that? And also looking at the timing that they offer. Does it align for you when you have free time? Are they offering weekends? Are they offering weekdays? And do you have the space in your schedule to attend that therapy session? And then once you are scheduled for therapy, making sure that you create a space to where you can decompress and fully be honest with your therapist, knowing that if it doesn't feel right or doesn't go right that first session, then you can tell them that maybe there's something that they can tweak, or maybe they can refer you to another therapist that you feel more comfortable with. And that is the end of my presentation. I want you to know that you can overcome circumstance and thrive beyond adversity. And if you liked this presentation, please let me know and email me at info@iamlegacyllc.com.
Yes, thank you so much, Baya. That was some great stuff. As I was listening to you, I was like, you know what? I do that sometimes. I think we all
Yes.
go through challenges with self-sabotage. And have you realized that when we get in those funks, we tend to kind of like go deeper instead of pulling ourselves out? And
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate this presentation that you gave, and I really hope that a lot of people pay attention because it's a true thing. And we
Yes.
listen, with social media and everything, we do a lot of procrastinating, we do a lot of comparing ourselves.
Listen.
And so as I was listening, I was like, "Oh, she talking about me a little bit, just a little." But again, I appreciate you so much. I really, really appreciate you. We will bring you back at the end for a little while just to see if anybody has any questions. I may have a few questions and things of that
Absolutely.
sort. But really appreciate you. So I'm gonna pull you back in, and then we're gonna get ready for our next guest speaker back there smiling with her beautiful self too. All right, so see you in a minute, okay?
Okay.
All right, guys. Now we got another. I don't know what's up with all these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ladies coming over here with their smart selves today. Okay. So today we have also Miss Renette Arnold, who is a founder of the Empowerment Agency. I said, "Ooh, I like that." So she's going to come on here and she's going to talk to us about suicide prevention. And you guys, this is huge. There's so much going on around this topic. I mean, from the top to the bottom, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about it. So let me tell you just a little bit more about her, and then I'm gonna let her introduce herself some. She is a graduate of Georgia State University. She is a counselor as well. Well, actually, let me say it right because we kind of rival the counselors and the social workers. I'm a counselor. I'm a counselor, y'all. Counselor. The counselor's better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We all do the same. We all work to support and help people, guys. But she's a social worker, licensed clinical social worker, and also a national certified master addiction counselor. So this is awesome. I'm looking forward to bringing her on. And let me shut my mouth, and I'm going to go ahead and pull Miss Renette on. Hello, beautiful.
Hello there. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Sasha. Look, Sister Sasha, Sister Maya, I'm loving the sister second chance. So I said I had to bring that branding into the room. I do have one housekeeping thing. You advance the slides or I advance the slides?
I have to advance them because I cannot figure out how to let you guys do it.
Good.
Give me like a little pointer or something like something when it's time to go to the next one.
I'll say next slide because I'll forget.
Okay. Thank you. So are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Well, first let me shut my mouth and let you tell them a little bit more about you first. How about that?
Okay, so my name is Renette Arnold. Everything that Sister Sasha said, and I'm here to talk to you all today about suicide. I'm so thankful that Sister Vaya went ahead of me, and I too was like, "Oh, she's talking about me and some of those things." And especially for me, it's the going to the gym and then eating something I know I have no business eating. And so I say that because, and I think that Sasha said it when she came on too. She said, "Oh, you were talking about me." And so that's the important thing that we know is that none of us are obsolete from this, right? We're all having human experiences. We have a lot of the same behaviors. What's important is that we really identify what we are doing and are aware and mindful about how these things impacts us. And so one of the things that I've been able to do in my career is connect the dots. And so Vaya talked about self-sabotage and the need for being mindful and being aware of your behaviors, the impact of social media. Sasha came on and talked about, yeah, because with social media, we can get in that funnel or that funk and compare ourselves. Or once we start doing that, then we can go deeper and deep dive into this place we didn't mean to get there. And so I'm glad that we set it up like that, because then I get to talk about suicide. And the title of my presentation is just that. Let's talk about suicide. And I did that because I didn't want to come up with some crafty or neat way of saying it. I'm going to go dead in on it, be very direct. Let's talk about suicide. And we have to get comfortable with saying that word.
Absolutely. I'm excited. So I'm going to go ahead and slide myself off and pull your PowerPoint up. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so I thank you all who are listening in, watching on, however you're engaging. And I do hope towards the end of this that you all will have questions and really think about how this information connects. And sometimes we hear things and we may, again, self-sabotage ourselves and say, "Ooh, that's me, but I really don't want to speak up." This is not the time for that. Sasha is offering you all a platform for you all to get incredible information. So I hope that you all will really listen in on it. Think about how does it apply to you, but also others who may be in your life. One of the things that I always say at my presentations is, again, we're all having a human experience. And so don't think just because you experience something or you start to get sad or you start to identify behaviors that are unhealthy, that you are alone or that it's too late to go and get help. And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about suicide. Next slide. And so I'm not going to talk a lot about my company. I'll just say this: because of the different areas and backgrounds I've worked in, whether it be public health, mental health, substance use, I've worked in homeless services, Department of Family and Children Services, crisis services, et cetera. Again, I've been able to look at the intersectionality of how do all of these things come together, or all of these social determinants of health impact the individual. And what I was able to see and really identify are some of the things related to suicide. And so that's what I'm going to unpack today. Next slide. I'm not going to focus on me. Next slide. And so I'm going to start off here today with data and statistics, because I know for myself, and I've been working in suicide since about 2013. I heard about suicide. I remember taking a class at the University of Georgia. However, it was still this thing that was kind of set to the side. And unless you were specializing in it, you really didn't feel a need, even as clinicians, to dive deep into suicide. And then in the community that I was brought up in, particularly my family, but also being African American, it was something we really didn't talk about. And I'll also admit that myth kind of lingered over our heads. Black people don't kill themselves. And so when I started working for a company that specialized in suicide prevention, that did crisis services, I started hearing the data and statistics, and I was alarmed with it. And so I'm going to share some of that with you all today. Next slide. And so suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And so I want you all to really just kind of listen to these key data points and really think about what I am saying and what did you think it may have been? How does this relate to your life or others who you may know as well. In 2017, the CDC reported over 47,000 suicides. Again, this is 2017. They are and have come out with new data. I can provide that for someone later if they would like those new data points. I just pulled this from a previous presentation that I had. But I will say, back in 2013, when I first started doing this presentation, we were looking at the 2010 data, and it was about 36,000 suicides per year. And so as we can see, there's a steady incline in deaths due to suicide. In the state of Georgia in particular, and that's where we are, it's over 1,400 suicides per year by Georgia residents. And so this is important because it's hitting home. And again, these numbers are steadily rising each year. One suicide happens every 11 minutes. So typically when I'm doing presentations, I'm in that session for maybe an hour for most of them, right? Because it can be limited time when I'm going into agencies or I'm offering webinars, etc. And so what I typically say is by the time I stop speaking, about 5 to 6 individuals have lost their lives due to suicide. That's a lot of individuals. That's a lot of people, a lot of families, and a lot of communities that are impacted by something that we aren't doing enough talking about. And I'll say it like that. We aren't doing enough talking about, and we have to do more. One senior citizen every 1 hour and 37 minutes. And this really hit home to me. I had growing up 2 parents who were aging. They had me later in life. And so this was always a thing, me looking around to see the differences between the different age groups, etc. And so suicide is one of those things where I say it doesn't discriminate across the board, even when it comes to age. There's one youth below the age of 25 every 1 hour and 48 minutes. And so for those of you who have children, nephews, nieces, cousins, children in your community, or children who you may work with, they're at risk. So we have to have this conversation. In the US, more people die of suicide than in car accidents. More die of suicide than of homicide. I remember being a child and watching the news with my parents, and they would say, I'm so sick of watching the news and watching people kill people. Well, not only are people killing people, people are killing themselves as well. But it's something we have continuously, especially in the past, never talked about. Now, I will say, since social media, there is this new wave of awareness, right? That's slowly coming out. Unfortunately, sometimes we get the news clips when a suicide has happened, which sometimes can be sensationalized. We have to look at smart ways to offer suicide education, awareness, prevention, as well as resources. We have to have these conversations. And when it comes to youth, we have to have these conversations in age appropriate ways. And suicide hanging among African American girls between the ages of 10 to 18 increased by 238% between 2006 and 2010. Now, that's an old data point, but I keep that because over the years when I've been doing this presentation, that's the one that stuck out to me the most. And it's one of the scariest ones. Why? Because again, growing up in a community where they say Black people don't kill themselves, growing up in a community where the voice of Black women and girls is often unheard, we have to shed lights on things like this by 238%. And so it's important that we talk about these things. And if I was able to engage or see your faces, one of the things that I would ask is, what are your thoughts, feelings, and reactions now that you've heard these data points? How do you feel? Is anyone alarmed? And then what are your next steps in terms of hearing this information? Is this going to make you be more aware and cognizant in terms of some of your own thoughts, feelings, and reactions? And even if it's not at the point where I'm thinking about ending my life, but what about before then, when I start to have those negative thoughts? Or when I start to engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, or when I hear of another person I know who is struggling, am I going to reach out for help and support? So that's why I'm going over these data and statistics today. I could pull out a ton of other statistics that are very relevant to any and every one. And so if you're looking for information, the CDC website is a great way to get information. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. There are so many resources out there. Next slide. This also is a, I may have sent, go to the next slide, please. Okay, back up one, I'm sorry. And so this is a chart that I use. This is actually from the CDC website. I'm going to cover this very briefly in the interest of time, but you can Google this, pull this up. It's the 10th leading causes of death. As you can see, if you look along the left-hand side, you see the rank 1 to 10, and across the top, you see age groups. Now, age group 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading cause of death. I'm going to say that again. From ages 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading cause of death. And so we could break this down if we had time and really talk about it and unpack what are some of the things that are going on within those different age groups, transitions, etc. But what we know is that those are the age groups that particularly we need to look out for because it's the second leading cause of death. When we get to 35 to 54, it's the fourth leading cause of death. And then if we skip over to 55 to 64, it is the eighth leading cause of death. So again, it's something that can hit all age groups. So it's important for us to be mindful of this and be aware and just watch what people say, how they're showing up in the communities, and also be aware of life experiences and what they're going through. And also us ourselves, we have to check in with ourselves as well. Next slide. And so as I go through this, and when I think about the people who I have worked with, the people who I've served, and my fellow colleagues and peers in the suicide prevention movement who have shared details and asked questions or shared information about the lives of those who have been impacted by suicide, what we know is that they all have a story. And their story is, as life's happenstances happen, life stressors, transitions, etc., that they found themselves in this place of despair, this place of emotional pain, where at that moment in time, or at a particular moment in time, they saw suicide as the only option. And so after hearing those stories and knowing that, one of the things that I really encourage individuals to do is to be open and honest, be mindful of what they are experiencing, but also tell someone, reach out for help and support, whether it's a therapist, whether it's through EAP, your insurance, a private practitioner, whether you go to a support group, if you're spiritual, going to someone of a spiritual background for support. But again, if you need or are in search of therapy, true therapy, seeking out a licensed clinician who can provide you the support and give you that space where you can talk through what's happening, but also get that support so that they can join up beside you. And so I use this quote by Zora Neale Hurston that says, "If you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it." Because we won't know. And people may put on a smile or put on that cape or put on that blazer or put on those shoes or put on that bag and continue to go out in this world on a daily basis and fake it. And no one will ever realize that they're literally dying inside. But we can't address what we don't know. So it's up to each and every one of us. We have a responsibility to ourselves to show up and activate our voice and say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is how I feel about it. And this is how I'm coping. Next slide. And so as life happened, there are ebbs and flows in life. And so for those of you who are listening, again, I really like to bring it home and allow us to really think about our life experiences and what we go through in life on a day-to-day basis. And so this is really relevant. And so Sasha mentioned this when I first came on. She said, yeah, we really need to talk about this, especially now with so much going on. And so lately, over the past few years, especially in my private practice, a lot of the things that I've been doing is talking to groups of individuals about, how do I cope? How do I cope with life's ebbs and flows with so much going on? And so if we take a moment to just pause and think about the past 3 years, let's think about and reflect on, what have you experienced? We all have had this global experience in terms of the pandemic. We've seen the murder of George Floyd, gun violence, pulling out of Afghanistan, the Ukraine war, political unrest, riots, all of these things that have happened globally that we're watching in real time, and that has an impact on us. Then there are things that are happening in our local communities, whatever that looks like for you and your community. And then there are things that are occurring in your personal life and others around you. And so there is a quote that, and I don't have that, so I'm going to recite it from memory. There's a quote out of the compassion fatigue movement that says, the idea that we can be immersed in so much pain and suffering and not be impacted by it is as insane as thinking we can walk through water and not get wet. So what does that mean? We are getting wet. It impacts us. It leaves a residue behind. And so one of the things that I point out is that an individual who is thinking about suicide, they're at that breaking point. They're at that moment where it's so much emotional pain that they don't see another way out. Other individuals may be on the other end of that spectrum, but if you don't get the help and support, if you continue to self-sabotage and don't reach out to a clinician or a friend who says, I'm going to come alongside you and make sure that you get connected, you will start to flow down that river. And so we have to identify what's going on with us. How am I feeling? And reach out for help and support, but also tap into the things that are keeping us going. And those are going to be the protective factors. So for anyone who's listening today, whether you've thought about suicide or not, those things that keep you going, that give you joy, that make you happy, that give you that energy to just keep pushing through life's transitions, whatever they are, those are the protective factors. And you want to continue to add those things to your life as much as possible. Next slide. And so self-care is one of the main protective factors. And one of the things that I say is it's the only thing that we have control over. In this world with so much going on, we don't have control over the pandemic or our economy and what's going on, but we do have control over how we take care of ourselves if we prioritize it. So when I teach individuals about self-care, I'm looking at 5 points. What does your physical wellness look like? Your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, and financial. One of the first questions that I often get is, well, why do you include finances in that? What does that have to do with overall wellness? Think about this. You may get a sick feeling. I know I do. If something is wrong with my finances, right? If you went to the bank and your account was completely wiped out, you're going to get sick to the stomach. You're going to get stressed out. You may start to have sweaty palms. You may not be able to focus on anything else. Someone may call you and then you may become agitated or aggressive towards them. Why? Because you're stressed out about finances. And so it's hard to pivot and look at your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health when those basic foundational things are messed up. And so we include that into the equation as well. What does that look like in terms of self-care? Making sure that you have a financial plan, that you have access to means to help get you to where you need to go, or to take care of the basic foundational things that you need: food, shelter, water, etc. When it comes to spiritual, it doesn't matter what your spiritual background is. It's what do you believe, and are you tapping into those resources and supports? Are you practicing those daily things, or however often things that tap into the spiritual realm for you? And so that you can continue to know that whatever happens in life, things are going to be okay. Now, what I don't suggest is that individuals sit back and say, you know what, take my hands off the wheel. Life is going to be okay because my higher power is going to get me there. No, it doesn't work like that. It's about your action and your faith as well, and your practices. In terms of mental, are you doing things to pour into your mental wellness? Are you thinking positive? Are you studying or reading and doing personal development? In terms of emotional wellness, are you spending time with people who pour into your emotions, who make you feel good? And are you setting boundaries for those who aren't good for your emotions? That's a really important conversation to have as well. And then physical health. Physical health tends to lean towards your nutrition as well as your good old physical exercise. Are you getting 30 minutes of exercise per day? And this is really important and very helpful because it releases dopamine and serotonin in the brain, and that's those feel-good mood stimulators. So there are things that we can do to help boost and take care of ourselves to promote resilience. And so when people say, how do I prevent myself from getting low or stop myself from getting into that hole where I'm thinking about suicide? It's about practicing good self-care. And there's levels levels to it. And so this is a general, basic, foundational level, and then you can add to it as well. Next slide. And so, one of the things that I like to talk about is when we get the opportunity to add to our self care activities, and this is where it can become really fun. The foundational principles, I encourage people to look at food. Are you eating green leafy vegetables, lean protein, complex carbs, unless your doctor has prescribed something else? Are you getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Many times I have individuals who don't get enough sleep, or they may say, you know what, I've never gotten 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I will tell them, you're operating off of sleep deprivation. And in the long run, over time, it can be very negative towards our bodies, especially with all of the things that we are experiencing. And again, that good old physical exercise. Once we do that, then we can bump up to another level and say, what activities am I going to do that I get enjoyment from? Whether it's music, I'm a huge music head. I absolutely love music. It gives me life. I carry a speaker with me everywhere I go. I'm also a huge proponent of laughter therapy. I tend to keep individuals on speed dial who just make me laugh. Every time I talk about this, as I start to think about them, I start smiling because I just get so much joy from engaging this person. Also, this is typically the time when I'm watching TV when it's something funny. I'm old school, so I'm watching Sanford and Son, Good Times, and Golden Girls at least once a day. That's my guilty pleasure where I get to check out. Again, exercise for me. I also have right here, and I'm going to give you all a little dose, my Tibetan singing bowl, which I absolutely love and adore. I use this, I'll do it and just kind of play it, bang on it. I'll also recite mantras or affirmations or scriptures around it. I have a candle at my desk, quality time with healthy relationships. Keyword on that is healthy relationships, and also essential oils. And so, as you can see, as I go through this, there are things that are in close proximity that I'm able to grab on and pull out. Oh, I also have, just for today, and I'll pull this out for you, Sasha, because not every presentation gets this. This is special. That's my rain stick. Isn't that sound delightful? And so I have these things in close proximity. Why is that? Because I want to integrate self-care into my lifestyle. We can't set it to the side or say, I'm going to take time for me later. I'm going to carve out this me time. Why is that? Because it usually gets snatched away. My focus is teaching individuals, including myself, how do I integrate self-care into my lifestyle? I want to do things on a daily basis, daily living activities to pour into my overall health and wellness, so that when life happens, life's ebbs and flows, that I'm able to get back up, so that I don't get down this funnel of, again, those unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy thoughts, self-sabotage that can lead me to contemplating suicide. And so we want to prevent that. And we want to think about, how do I take good care of myself? How do I pour positivity into myself? How do I regain control of my thoughts, feelings, reactions, etc.? And it starts at the basis of self-care. So I hope that you all will redefine how you do self-care. I know oftentimes we hear about people doing retail therapy, going to the nail salon, vacations, etc. And it's okay to treat yourself. I'm a person who does that as well. But I'm also doing those basic fundamental principles. What I know is that when we do the fundamental principles and then we add those extra layers, we are getting good self-care. For those of us who are just doing the retail therapy, going on vacations, going to get our nails done, what we typically find is that once that moment is over, they're right back sitting with themselves. Energy is low, mood may be a bit off, the thoughts are negative, right? Or there may be some self-sabotage going on. We want to do the foundational principles so that we can get our health and wellness up to par and do things that treat ourselves from the inside out. Next slide. And so I put this up here because I hope that you all will see each and every one of yourselves as a person in the palm of your hand. If you believe in a higher power, you're in the palm of the hand of your higher power. And I say to you all, give yourselves grace. Give yourselves grace and a level of awareness, and be empowered to give yourselves what you need. One of the things that we know as therapists is that even though we're specifically trained and we've studied and practiced a lot of hours, we can't help you get what you need unless you give us some information and collaborate with us so that we can give you what you need, or that we can help you get what you need. And so we're here to support you, to lift you up, but you also have an important role in lifting yourselves up as well. Next slide. And so I also wanted to offer some resources and support in the state of Georgia. Well, nationally, actually, we've released 988, which is Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's a 3-digit number similar to 911, but it's specifically geared towards suicide and crisis. In the state of Georgia, we're excited about the way in which it's operating. Georgia, which is different from many other states across the nation, was actually able to tap into a current infrastructure that already exists. And so you do that by dialing this 1-800, or you can dial 988, but what it does is feeds into this 1-800-715-4225. And that's where the excellent staff at the Georgia Crisis and Access Line are picking up the phone. They can send out the amazing mobile crisis team members to go out in the community and provide support. There's also the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, text home chat, which is for crisis support. This other one that's pretty small, but we can send out the slides if you all need them. It's for the LGBTQ community, and then the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And so I'm here to say there's a lot of resources out in the community. It's up to each and every one of you, whether or not you reach out to those resources and support. My encouragement to you is that you do it sooner than later. We don't have to wait until we're in a crisis to reach out for help and support. I see therapy as more prevention and maintenance. How do I work with the things or work through the things that I'm going through so that I can maintain my mental and emotional wellness along the way? And so I encourage you all, take this information that you're getting today and think about, how does it apply to your life? How can you help support yourself and others? Again, we all are having a human experience as we go through this life. The key to it is, how do we take good care of ourselves? Next slide. And so I would open it up to questions and answers, but I think Sasha has a slide for that. Next slide. Yes, Angela Davis. And so one of the things that I like to do at the end of my presentations is just to leave with some parting words, or at least a call to action. And so today I'll leave us with Angela Davis, who says, "I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept." And so I encourage each and every one of us to reflect and think on our lives. What's that one thing that's been gnawing at your soul? Maybe that you've been procrastinating on, or you've just been kind of pushing to the back of your mind and saying, "I don't want to deal with this." And I encourage you to sit down or sit with someone and decide that you're going to change it because you can no longer accept it. I thank you all for listening to me today. I hope that some of this information is helpful. If you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. Reach out for help and support, and we're here to provide that today.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, that was awesome. You guys are awesome. Let me bring Miss Baya back on too. You guys are so awesome. So first of all, I was over here like, yes, healthy relationships. Yes, setting boundaries. Yes, self-care. And when you said the finances, I said, I know nobody's saying that why did she put self-care this under self-care? How sick do you get when you broke?
Right. Focus on anything else.
No, I don't care what self-care you're doing. You can do the meditation, the rain stick, and that was amazing, by the way. But if your bank account don't look right, it don't feel right, you struggle with some of those other ones. So I love it. You guys did amazing. Yeah, I would love to bring questions to everyone, but I don't even know if I'm able to see all the comments properly, to be honest with you. I'm kind of looking back and forth and everything. But what I wanted to do is just ask both of you guys, I've always liked to ask therapists when they're dealing with certain type of topics, what is the most challenging thing they feel like they have as a therapist, trying to, bring awareness to suicide prevention, mental health. and self-sabotage, because I think that if people knew what our challenge was, maybe they would understand how to better help us. So I wanted to ask you that before we leave today. And then, of course, leave us with something. I know you left us with a quote already, but I'm going to also just challenge you to leave us with another one, and then we'll just kind of end things, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you first, Vaya, because I
Mhm.
feel like as a therapist and even doing this nonprofit, sometimes I still struggle to reach people. I still struggle with challenges as a therapist to provide the resource or to really reach the people. So what do you feel like is your biggest challenge when you're trying to help people and bring awareness and break this stigma?
I would say the biggest challenge that I'm seeing is clients wanting to have therapy but not being able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And so having those resources, like I believe it's therapy men and pathways, to help offset that cost and letting people know like it is possible still to get therapy. Maybe it's not that therapist for you, but there's another therapist out there for you.
Absolutely. And that's what this organization, we actually provide free counseling services to people that
That's
come in
awesome.
and actually apply for it. I think a lot of times people don't realize that I do offer, I volunteer sometime. I have a counselor that's on, actually a part of our community that offers sometimes. So we ask other therapists to step in and volunteer if they want
That's
to,
awesome.
but it's only, we offer 30 minutes of individual therapy, and we give that person slots every 2 weeks. So we offer that because everybody, like we said, we don't, everybody doesn't have insurance, and we do this for not only women with our umbrella of brothers deserve a chance. We do it for men too. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, awesome. We're trying to do our thing here. We're trying to
And
get,
that's in Georgia. That's in Georgia.
we're doing it in Georgia and Alabama right now. Mhm.
Okay, great,
It's
great.
virtual, so yeah.
Okay.
Um, Renette, so what's your challenge?
My biggest challenge that I will say is individuals not being completely honest with themselves
Yeah.
about what they need. And so, oftentimes, what I find is that, especially in some of the corporate spaces that I work in, they have the resources, but it's the shame, the stigma of mental health. It's that fear of, or that idea of the strong Black woman, or I'm the strong Black man, or I'm the head of the household, etc. And because of
Mhm.
all of that, I could literally be breaking on the inside, but I won't reach out for help and support. I won't go to therapy. And it's interesting because I'll do some group sessions and they will linger around and want to talk at the end. And I'm like, I can't talk to you right now because I can't open you up and I don't have the time to close you back down. You need
Absolutely.
to schedule a therapy session. And so those situations right there really break my heart because you have access, you have so many things at the touch of your hand, and you still won't go because you are allowing all of this stuff. And again, the shame, the stigma, the guilt, whatever you have been told or whatever you think about yourself to say, I'm not going to reach out for help and support. And so that's problematic to me because
Mhm.
you are the only person who can change that.
Absolutely. I think
Mhm.
that with people struggling with that stigma, it's like it doesn't matter how much we do sometimes. It's just, it's those generational things, those things that they have been taught that, well, I got to be hard. Especially I see it a lot of men. I got to be hard. I got to be tough.
Mhm.
Tough. I can't be a punk. I don't know why
Mhm.
therapy has to be considered. Oh, I'm a punk move or something.
Mhm.
No, I think the punk move is not taking care of ourselves.
Right.
Not calling
Mhm.
somebody punk. So don't say I said nobody was a punk. Okay. But listen, let's take care of ourselves. Let's stand up for our own emotional
Yes.
things that's going on, and our challenges is what I want people to
Right.
do. And so I think you guys are so amazing. I just want to say that, just amazing. So, okay. One thing you would say if you thought this was the thing that could break the stigma, one liner, Vaya. I'm about to say it wrong. Vaya.
Mm. There is hope.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
is hope.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes, yes. Renette, one liner. If you thought it was going to break stigma right now, what would you say?
So I'm going to give a word of inspiration from the Bell Hooks.
Okay.
It's specific to children, but we were once children. And it
Yes.
says, if we give our children sound self-love, they will be able to deal with whatever life puts before them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so even if we didn't get it as children, now that we're adults, we have to give ourselves sound self-love.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we have to love ourselves. What did they say? Maya Angelou, she said she doesn't trust a person that says "I love you" but doesn't love themselves.
Absolutely.
So we got to love on ourselves, guys. We have to seek therapy. I just want to say again, I really appreciate you guys coming on. You guys are amazing. Everyone that's watching, please go follow. I want you guys to give them whatever handle you want to give them. Each one of you, Vaya, you can go first. Tell them where they can go follow you.
I'm actually not on any social media outlets yet, but you can, if you, like I said, if you like this presentation, you can definitely email me at info@imlegacyllc.com.
Absolutely. Look, you don't have look. Everybody started off with word of mouth and
Right.
going. You listen. We don't have to be on social media to do what we got to do.
Right.
Yes.
But you want people to follow you.
Absolutely. And I'll say this to you first. Sasha, thank you so much for providing this platform and this space and for bringing us together as sisters, but also for your nonprofit and providing that counseling and particularly absolutely free of charge. That is huge and also priceless. For individuals who want to connect with me, you can connect with me on Instagram at empowerment_agency. And I'm also on LinkedIn at the LinkedIn address, and it's just my name, Reinette, Reinette. And so I look forward to hearing from you all. If I can be a resource or answer any questions, please let me know.
Awesome. So, guys, again, follow and reach out to these beautiful, amazing, and experienced therapists. And when I say experienced, they sound like they have it experienced in the professional realm, but also personally. And I think that's just amazing. We need that, people that can relate with you, people that can meet you where you are. That is what we need to break stigma in the community and in mental health and with all of these things that we've talked about today. So you guys also check us out, Sister Second Chance. We have a lot of amazing things. We do the free counseling. We also will be feeding the homeless in November. We're in September. I'm getting we do a lot of things, but we also need support. We also need donations. We also need volunteers. So you guys check us out at www.sistersecondchance. That's with the number 2nd.org. And we're also on all platforms, Twitter. I don't think we're not on LinkedIn, but Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, if you want to connect with us. And we are really, really open to your questions, if you need therapy or whatever. But either way, we appreciate everyone that has tuned in. You guys, please really, really take your mental health seriously. Love on yourself. And if you ever need help, don't be afraid to reach out. And this is our way of sending love to the community as therapists, guys. This is our way. So we thank you again. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys again, Reinette and Vaya. You're amazing. And I hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. But I got to end this with Roll Tide, whoever watching.
But I hope they continue to beat the Gamecocks as well. I know I love Sasha because I'm about to get from in front of this TV to go over here and present. So I love her and what I do. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.